Greetings YouTube, Skill Incarnate bringing you all the latest indie gaming goodness. Today we're having a look at the game Ballistic Tanks by Kirklight Games. This is a top-down shooter in the vein of Robotron X where you get to control a number of different vehicles in combat scenarios. And this has been a fun game for me to try, and it's definitely right up my alley with the retro graphics and soundtrack. So let's start off by having a look at the different game modes. The arcade mode is the backbone of Ballistic Tanks, and you can play this game with one player solo, or if you have a controller that you can plug into your computer, you can use two players and play the game cooperatively. Now, there are 4 different tanks that you start off with additional tanks being unlocked as you complete different challenges throughout the game. In addition to that, you can actually earn coins throughout the game, and your progress is tracked, as you can see here, the different attempts you've made, kills, deaths, and your score. So there is a little bit of a competitive element in trying to beat your single player score in co-op and vice versa. Now, the one thing I have to mention, and that this is the one massive bug that I found throughout playing the game, as you complete the different challenges in the game, you earn coins. And these coins can be used to unlock permanent upgrades for your tank, allowing you to get further on in the campaign. Now, unfortunately, at the moment, there is a massive bug with this. As you earn coins throughout the game, and you spend them on these points for your tank, there is a chance that these upgrades get lost, and the next time you open the game, these are completely wiped. And unfortunately, this is a really massive problem, marring an otherwise excellent game. But we're going to talk a little bit more about this later on. Let's go into the arcade mode and see how it works. And here we have the arcade mode of the game. In this mode you fight a number of computer controlled tanks across a number of different battlefields, all with their own advantages and obstacles. Now, the controls to this game are very tight, with the W, S, A and D keys controlling your tank, and the mouse controlling your turret. You have a number of different power-ups that you can gather, and they include things like different weapons, shields for your tank, and also abilities that you can pick up at the end of each level, which give you a permanent upgrade for that run. In addition, you've got the coins, but at the moment, as I mentioned before, there is a bug with using the coins at the moment where the upgrades you purchase will not stay with your tank. Here's one of the permanent upgrades for the run that I mentioned. So for the rest of this particular run, my rate of fire is increased by 1. Now, some of these maps are very, very easy, and some of them can be quite hard later on. And as you go through your run, you will end up fighting against enemies like this. That's a Tesla tank, and he will use his energy force field to disable my tank and make it immobile. So I have to take those guys out very fast. They make me easy pickings for these other tanks. Now, as we defeat some of these tanks, we can also pick up some of their weapons, which will give us a very large advantage. And we can also use the terrain, again, to our advantage. That's one thing the enemy tanks cannot do, is move off the edge of the map. So we've got 3 tanks left. We're just going to try and... the moving wall actually helped me there. It pushed the enemy tanks right into my fire. And we can block the enemy tank shots with our own shots, as you can see. And we've actually won that match. So let's have a look at one of the other game modes, which is the versus mode. The versus mode is the second mode of play in Ballistic Tanks. And in this mode you can play up to 4 players against each other. Or you can throw in some bots. The game will do that automatically. There are a number of different tanks you can use in versus mode, and completing different challenges in arcade mode will unlock these additional tanks. There are 3 different types of play in versus, and that's your standard deathmatch, which is just everyone versus everyone. The Juggernaut mode, which is a tank version of King of the Hill, where one player will try and get to the middle of the arena to become the Juggernaut tank, and everyone else will try and stop him. The Power Shift mode is a deathmatch mode with a number of different modifiers. Everyone gets a random weapon or a random ability at the start of the match, And this can range from different cannons to mines to force fields to shields, even to different tanks. And this is actually my favourite of the 3 different deathmatch modes. Now all of these can be changed via modifiers, which can give you an advantage or make the game a little bit harder. Let's go into deathmatch mode to start with. And here we have deathmatch mode. Now this is a lot faster, more deadly version of the arcade mode. You have a number of different power-ups you can gather by selecting the different boxes, blowing them open, and seeing what's inside. As you can see here, I now have a Tesla ability, which allows me to slow the other enemies down. Now, this is a best out of 3 scenario. If you win 3 matches, then you win the game. The enemy tanks will attack you as well as attacking each other, so it is a little bit easier than arcade in that they won't gang up on you most of the time. And you do have access to a constant stream of different power-ups. Now, one of the things I've noticed is the enemy tanks don't seem to take advantage of these power-ups as much as you. But other than that, this is a pretty challenging mode of play. And it's very fast-paced, and as you can see, a match can be over in just a few seconds. Again, if this isn't your cup of tea, you can change the modifier to make the game a little bit longer, a little bit more or less challenging. But this is actually a really nice fast-paced mode of play. It's a lot of fun, and unfortunately I don't have a USB controller with me, or I would show you the multiplayer with a few players. As you can see, we've won the match. It was very fast. We did quite well. We only died once, and it shows our stats here. The computer control players in the deathmatch mode, they did okay, but again, it probably would help if they tried to gather the power-ups in the same way that I was. But other than that, very well done mode. The Juggernaut mode is a tank version of Capture the Flag. Basically, you have to remain in the control point long enough to become the Juggernaut tank. As you can see, you become very strong, and you have you have quite a few hits before you die. But the enemy tanks can gang up on you and will gang up on you. So you basically just have to survive long enough to, as the Juggernaut, take out all the other tanks to win the map. Or alternately, if another player does become the Juggernaut, you have to be the one that lands the killing shot on the Juggernaut to win the match. So it's always advantageous to try and become the Juggernaut, because it takes several shots to take you out. And as you can see here, I managed to get myself some missiles. That didn't work out well because the missiles were auto-aim. And as you can see, another player's become the Juggernaut now. So we now have, I'm going to try and lay some fire down this guy and take him out and become the winner. See if I can, yep, and I managed to blow him up. So that's the Juggernaut mode. Let's have a look at the third mode, which is Power Shift. This is the third mode of play, which is the Power Shift mode. Now in Power Shift, each player gets a random modifier, and that includes having a random weapon. As you can see, I'm not doing very well in this map. I need to try and snipe them with this weapon, railgun that can shoot through walls. I actually managed to live through that match. Now at the beginning of the next match, we'll get a random modifier again. And in this case, it looks like we've got a grenade launcher. We also have to be careful because of friendly fire. Our own grenade launcher doesn't discriminate between friend and foe. But this is actually a really fun way to play the game, and this is probably my choice of game mode. It's a lot of fun because you just never know. You can get a really cool weapon, or you can end up with being nerfed pretty hard. But again, in Power Shift mode, everybody gets the same advantage or disadvantage, so it never feels unfair. It just all comes down to skill and how you use your power-ups. As you can see, doing pretty well with the missile launcher. It is auto-aim, so you also have to try and use cover when you can. As you can see, we're just doing a missile duel now. I managed to beat that guy. Let's see if we can get one more hit, and we've won the match. So, Power Shift mode, thumbs up from me. That's actually my favourite mode to play in the whole game. Let's have a look at the final mode, which is the Planes Combat. the final mode of play in Ballistic Tanks is the plane mode. And this is definitely the most crazy mode of all. You can play with up to 4 human players or against the AI, as with all the other modes. And basically you have to control a jet fighter in a duel against a series of other fighters using rockets, which are heat-seeking, but it's very hard to get an accurate hit on an enemy. The plane's thrust is controlled via the right mouse button, and there's just no way to describe how difficult it is to keep your plane flying in the air. Half the challenge of the game is just trying to keep your plane from flying off the edge of the map or flying into other players, but this is a lot of fun, and this was actually added in the recent Ballistic mode update to the game. So this is really, really fun. I love this new mode, and it's definitely a welcome addition to the game. So let's have a look at what my final thoughts are on the game. So, final thoughts on this game. Well, I can't give an overall verdict without first mentioning the massive bug that I found during the course of doing this review. Now, as you progress through the arcade mode, you earn coins, as we can see here. Now, adding coins to any of these stats will actually show on the screen, but once you exit arcade mode and rejoin, either your stats are lost or your coins are reset to 0, or sometimes both. Upon exiting arcade mode, you'll actually lose all of your upgrades and they'll return to normal. I've upgraded these several times, and upon exiting arcade mode, they are always reset to 0. Now, this is a massive bug in the game, and it definitely affected my play of the game, my enjoyment of the game. But I don't want to give a game a thumbs down simply on the basis of one bug. So the multiplayer of the game is not affected by this. The planes mode, the different versus modes, all of that is unaffected. It's only the co-op single player mode that's affected. And it really is a simple fix, in my opinion. So I'm still going to recommend this game. I'm still going to say go and try this one out. Especially if you like multiplayer games and you have some family or young kids. This is a really fun game. And definitely one that you should check out if you like your retro games like I do. Hopefully, if the developer is watching this, and I really do hope you are, I'd love to see a fix to that, because this game was one that I thought of giving my coveted Golden Goat award to, just based on the fun I had and just the overall enjoyment of the game. It's a really, really fun game. The multiplayer is really awesome, and hopefully I'll get to try it out with a few human players in future. So if you enjoyed this review, let me know. Leave me a comment, leave me a subscribe if you're feeling kind. Check this game out if you like these sort of games, and hopefully we'll see you for the next review. Until next time, Skill Incarnate out.